Hello good people of YouTube and welcome to my channel. Today in this video I just wanted to give you a quick update on the work I've been doing on my proxy Bretonnian Trebuchet, which featured in my last video. And also I wanted to talk about some head swaps that I've done on these Bretonnian Bowmen and Bretonnian men-at-arms, and I've left the arms off these guys so that we can have a look at their faces. A couple of other things that you might have noticed: I've got some more halflings dotted around the place. These two here are old halfling slinger sculpts of mine. I have done a hat swap on that one there, just to bring it in with the kind of Bretonnian aesthetic. The other thing is one of my ogres. I've got some resin ogres lying around. This one I chose because the clothes that he's wearing fit quite nicely with the look of the Bretonnians. I've sculpted some imperial ogres in the past, which is still available through the FireForge, and as I said before, that's all owned and managed now by Ainsley Castings. I don't get anything for advertising. I'm just talking about the models I'm using to create my own unique looking Bretonnian army. So we'll have a closer look at him in a bit, but he's a unit filler, which is why I've put him on a 50 by 50 base, so that he will fit in a unit and take up the room of 4 figures. So moving back to the head swaps, I don't know how clearly these will stand out. I've got this guy here as well, which is a work in progress. Again, this is a halfling militia of mine where I've hacked the top of the head off. I'm sculpting a new metal helm for him. This is just the first scaffold, if you like, that goes down. I do need to add a tiny bit more to smooth it all off and make it look like a tin helmet. So at the moment it looks like a cloth cap because I've just got the basic shape. I need that putty to go hard before I can work on it anymore. And I decided I would use some weapons from the FireForge folk rabble in some of my halflings. So the quickest way was just to do a hand swap, which I've done, and I've also given this guy a Bretonnian shield to kind of tie him in with the whole vibe of my army. So that's a work in progress. I will be doing some more of those. As I said, I've got some old resin halflings of my own kicking around, and I thought, well, rather than have them discolor like this one has in a box, I will hack off some heads, chop off some arms, do a bit of resculpting and convert them into something which will go with Warhammer the Old World. So that's that. I've also got some nice ones that I'm looking to include. This was probably one of the last halflings I sculpted for the FireForge, and that was a Friar Tucker, keeper of the recipe book. So I've got loads of those lying around as well, which so I'll use 1 or 2 of those models. But anyway, if we have a look now at these guys, we can start with the men-at-arms. Here I've just got a straightforward Games Workshop Warhammer the Old World Bretonnian man-at-arms, Bretonnian head, Bretonnian arms, Bretonnian body. So that was just to show a sort of a scale reference, because all the other guys here are wearing FireForge heads, and more specifically, apart from those 2 at the back there, which are the folk rabble there and there, or is it, beg your pardon, there And there, I'm not sure if that's a folk rabble or whether that's from the Western armies. But anyway, apart from those, the others I can say with confidence are all FireForge foot sergeants, sergeants at arms, mounted sergeant heads, or medieval archers from their Dust Vault or Deuce Vault range of Western armies. So if we just pick one up, what I've had to do with these guys is basically just roll a little ball of green stuff for the neck. And as you can see on this one, you can't even see it, you know, it's but basically I was picking green stuff, a little ball of green stuff about the size of a grain of rice, and super gluing the head to one end, and then the green stuff with the head on it was then super glued to the body. You might be able to see a bit of green stuff there, but I used a sculpting tool to smooth it all down. I've still got to clean up the plastic sort of detachment scars and so on. Yeah, that's it there, you can see it there. And anywhere where the green stuff was, there was a bit more green stuff than perhaps I imagined there would be. I just tried to shape it and turn it into folds of fabric, so they look like hoods or just little folds of fabric in the kind of cloth that they're wearing. So I think they've worked really well. As I'm just quickly going through to show you these. They're all the sergeant at arms or medieval archer heads, super glued onto a Bretonnian body using a little bit of green stuff to create the neck. So I've done that with all of those, and basically I've done 12 so that I can sprinkle these among the other miniatures that I've already built. So here, this unit here is entirely made up of GW plastics with GW heads. I mean, I've taken a head there from the Bretonnian mounted knights or knights of the realm. That might even be an errant knight head, but I've shown this chap off before in a previous video. But apart from that, it's all GW plastics with GW heads in that unit there that I've already built. So what I'll be doing is I will be adding these and sprinkling them through my existing units, just to create that little bit of interest, so that if you are leaning over the gaming table for a closer look, there's the odd figure here and there that stands out, because although I think that's an archer head that I've put on this man-at-arms, not my favorite heads, these where they've got, you know, like the nose cut off or toothache or whatever, but I've used them sparingly, like one of each in each unit. But this is why I wanted to look at head swaps from other manufacturers. So those are the men-at-arms there, work in progress. And of course I will do another video when these guys are all glued together, and I've got all my foot troops for my Bretonnian army sorted out. Where it stands at the moment, I think I've got about 72 men-at-arms in total. Half of them aren't built, but I'm just going by the numbers on the boxes that I've bought. So there were 36 men-at-arms in the big battle box there. There are 36 men-at-arms in the extra kind of regiment box that I bought. There were 24 archers, sorry, that was the wrong box, wasn't it? Just noticed. So 36 men-at-arms there. There were 24 archers in the big army deal or battle box when I bought that, and there are 36 peasant bowmen there. So 24 and 36 takes us up to 60. So that's 60 archers or bowmen in total and 72 men-at-arms. Then we come to the squires that I did a video on the other day. Now I've done 24 squires there, so that would be 60 plus 24, 84. So, and then if we start adding the extra, isn't it? Yeah, 60. I'm just trying to think how many I've got. So I've got 60, 84. I don't think I've got any more that I can pad that out with. But I was looking at doing three units of 20 peasant bowmen to give me 60, and then I'd have a few figures perhaps left over if I start adding halflings and things in amongst those. And then there's the 24 here, 84 bowmen in total. I've got some halfling slingers that I'm adding in there, and then, as I said, there's the 72 men at arms. So, you know, we're getting towards 150 miniatures. The other thing I was thinking of doing, again, I spoke about those in my previous video, was some folk rabble or village rabble that might, you know, serve as a proxy men at arms unit or something. But anyway, so I've got squires there, I've got bowmen here, I've got men at arms there, I've got some halflings sprinkled in amongst them. And this, if we look at the head swaps I've done here, that is a regular Bretonnian peasant bowman. Yeah, straight out of the box, Bretonnian head, Bretonnian body, GW base. The rest are all wearing heads from, again, FireForge, from the medieval archers, the foot sergeants, the sergeants at arms, and the mounted sergeants. All the heads in those boxes are pretty much the same. I'll just try and get in for a closer view. I'll pick out some and have a look at them, but that's basically FireForge heads on GW Games Workshop bodies. So if we have a look at this guy, quite like that, just really, it just gives a completely different kind of dimension to the model. I mean, that is one grumpy Bretonnian. I mean, I love that. That's just, it works so well. And again, I've done 12 of these guys, so I can sprinkle these throughout the units. And actually what I was thinking was, instead of having units of just 20 archers, I can chuck in some of my halflings. If I did 4 halflings per unit, that gives me a unit of 24. Another nice head there. And again, same applies. Tiny little grain of rice sized ball of green stuff or putty used. Bit of super glue on the bottom of the head, bit of super glue in the recess for the neck. Pop the green stuff ball onto the back of the head where the neck should be. Position the head on the body and just use a sculpting tool to smooth over any green stuff if it's got in the wrong place. But yes, what I was saying was basically if I can get units of 24 by adding some halfling slingers, then we're looking at 72 archers and 72 men at arms, plus another 24 archers. So 72, that would be 76, 96. So that's nearly 100 archers. So, you know, I'm turning my Bretonnian army into, you know, an army that could have fought a battle like Agincourt, which I think is great. So yeah, there's another head from FireForge. Little ball of green stuff, super glued onto a Bretonnian body. And I'll just look at a couple more. Same there. I just think they're brilliant. they add just that subtle difference. So they still fit with the whole Bretonnian vibe and the style of, you know, Warhammer the Old World miniatures. They still fit with that vibe, but they just lift it ever so slightly. So I think this guy probably is out of the medieval Bowmen box, because there was another beardy one there, and that's the same. So yeah, so as I said before, there's those two there. There we are, those two there, which are from the folk rabble, and then this chap at the back with a beard, which is probably very unusual for a Bretonnian. He is he's probably from the medieval archers from the FireForge plastic box, because I've used one there as well. So but yeah, I hope you like those. I think it's worked quite well. I'm happy with the results. I'm looking forward to getting some paint on these. Unfortunately, I do my priming with a rattle can, and yeah, okay, it's not as good as an airbrush, but it's good enough. You can't get the subtlety that some people go on about. I do have an airbrush. I rarely use it. I think I probably need a better, I don't know what they call them, gun at the end. You know, I need a better nozzle. I've got a nylon one, which is terrible. The needles are nylon, so that's terrible. But basically, my experience of airbrushes has been I spend longer cleaning them up after using them than I do actually painting with them. And for me, that's kind of, nah, thanks, but no thanks. So I will be priming these with a rattle can. Black primer or grey primer first. I might even try a sand or a putty primer for these, just maybe to produce a slightly warmer figure. I don't know, I haven't decided yet, but anyway. Zenithal prime with a bit of white sprayed from a rattle can over the top. If I need to emphasize highlights anywhere, then I'll do a bit of dry brushing, but I'm ready to start priming some of these models now. The only thing is we haven't got the weather for it because I'm using rattle cans. You know, I prime outside in the yard. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to finish building all of my Bretonnian forces, including that box, which is still staring at me. I'll get them built, I'll get them on bases, I will do any unit fillers, I will do any unique figures that I'm adding. Just show you this guy here. I've had to repair, this was done in resin and of course it was a bit brittle, so I've had to repair the sling. But that is one of my halflings with a kind of a head, bit of remedial work done on the head, chopped the hair off, gave him a Games Workshop Bretonnian helmet and resculpted some hair. So that's that one. And as I said, I've got this one to finish, but he's quite a nice bit of work in progress. I did actually go through the shield there where I took my arm off the other side. So I'm just repairing that. That'll get smoothed down as well. So I'm going to finish building, but before I end this video, I'm just going to look at this guy and the trebuchet, the work I've done on the trebuchet. So this, as I said, is one of my sculpts. It's a very grumpy looking ogre. It's actually an imperial ogre, so it was done for sort of a Dogs of War style army, or an empire style of army, where you've got the kind of mixed forces that were very prevalent when Games Workshop were doing a range of Marauder miniatures. So, you know, all the Landsknecht type uniforms, for want of a better word. So anyway, I picked this guy because he seemed more Bretonnian than any other ogre that I've sculpted. So I'm doing him as a unit filler. So I've just brought these models out to kind of give you an idea of how that might look. I've got some early Citadel dwarves to rebase and include in my Bretonnian army. Again, just for a a little bit of visual difference. I know there'll be some people out there going, what? No, you can't do that. But hey, it's fantasy. I don't play tournaments, you know. I play friendlies with mates who come round for a game. So I like the kind of Brothers Grimm fairy tale vibe that seems to be kind of emerging here, especially off the back of these three guys here, Bertrand, Hugo and Guy, that I've featured in a previous video. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that kind of fairy tale, because let's face it, you know, if these guys are going to ride around on Pegasus, winged horses, then why wouldn't they have a few halflings in amongst their ranks, or perhaps a friendly ogre? It takes me back to the days of playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons in the mid to late 80s, where you'd walk into a tavern and there'd be a half orc having a beer and some dwarves on one table, and maybe a dark elf assassin hiding in a corner or something. It was, so that's kind of what I'm going for. Just yeah, it's a human army, but I'm just creating some unit fillers and some proxy models, using some proxy models just to give it more of a fairy tale vibe. Anything for the lady, as they say. So to finish off with, thanks for sticking with me this long as well. I know I always open by saying I'm just going to do a short video, and then I end up talking for 20 minutes, half an hour, sometimes longer. But this is the trebuchet that I featured in my previous video. It was straight out of the packet, it was loose, everything was wobbly, and I was talking about what I was going to do. Well, in this video, you can see I've started to do it. So I dispensed with the, in fact, it's still here, with the twine that was provided, and the 3D printed boulder in a 3D printed Hessian kind of pouch, catapult pouch. That's going in the bits box, might be used for my greenskin army. And what I've done is what I said I would do. I've twisted some garden wire. Now it's not showing up in this lighting as well as it looks. It kind of looks a bit weird in this lighting, but it does look like the classic kind of rope that you get sculpted on heroic scale fantasy miniatures. Works for me. Also, I've kind of twisted the end into a hook. I'm going to green stuff a knot of rope on the end there, but the reason I've done that in garden wire is because it's solid, it's stable, it's an anchor point for this, so it gives the model rigidity. I've then gone ahead and sculpted a bit of rope wound around the mechanism there, which will look a lot better when it's painted. I've started to put a few sort of boulders and things in, just because I had some green stuff left over. And also I've started to do the skid. I've actually got the frame for that laid in at the back there. So that will contain a smaller boulder that's going to have to be pulled underneath between that gap there when the thing's released. All this is now glued in place. Like I said, it was a little bit awkward to do, but that's it. That's a trebuchet coming together. And I think I did say in yesterday's video that I'd probably leave this as kind of clean, paint it up and leave it as clean as possible. Wouldn't base it, would just keep it generic, so I could always use it for Middle Earth. I'm having second thoughts now. I do like this one, and I might get another one, second one for my Bretonnians, but I think you can have one every 1,000 points. So it might be nice to have two, one ready to fire and one that's released its ammunition. So that would be fun, but I am actually thinking now about actually mounting it on a base. I said before I might magnetize it so I could use it with different games, but the reason why I'm having second thoughts is because I actually like the idea of maybe sticking a few shields and doing some heraldry on this, and just making it look a bit more like it belongs with the army. And seeing as it was only £16 from Iron Gate Scenery, you know, I wouldn't begrudge buying another one and doing something different with it. So that's where I'm at with the Trebuchet. You can see there the crew. I haven't done anything else with them since the last video, but these again are, for anyone who's not seen my previous video, these are FireForge folk rabble bodies and arms with the extra bits like buckets and spades and picks and things, and they've all been given Bretonnian heads. So I'm using those as engineers or war machine crew. I also was looking through the Bretonnian Arcane Journal as well, and got flicking through the what are they, banished or outlawed Bretonnians, banished. It's an army list where basically you can take a bombard, and they're you know, you're an army for a Bretonnian noble who's been banished from the realm, and therefore doesn't necessarily stick to the Bretonnian principle of not having gunpowder. So I'm looking at some other bits I can model to give myself some flexibility. But here we are at the moment. This is where I'm at. So I've got basically 36 peasant bowmen to finish basing and gluing together. Well, I've done about 12 there, so that leaves 24, doesn't it? I've got to dig out some more of my halflings. I'm going to dig out some old citadel dwarves I know I've got lying around. I've actually got a foundry bombard crew somewhere, but I haven't got the bombard. But anyway, I'll be looking at other models, doing some scale comparisons as well. But this is where I'm at. So hopefully by the time I sit down tomorrow or the day after to do my next Bretonnian video, I will have all my infantry glued together, based up in movement trays with proxy models to add the flavour that I want, unit fillers where I want them. So we could be looking, as I said, in the region of 100 bowmen, 70, 72 men-at-arms. If I find anything else that works, then I will be adding those as well. I think that's what I like about some of these. When you look at the head swaps, the vibe with some of these is very much, particularly that style helmet, that fits with the old metal Bretonnians that I can remember. I don't know if they were from 5th edition. I don't know, I can't remember. Long time ago. I'm sure someone will. Drop a comment in, you know, down below if you can remember. I'm trying to think what the box set was as well. Bretonnians and Lizard Men, I think it was. And that was before this release. But a head like that really fits with the vibe of the old metals. So I might try and get my hands on a few of the old Bretonnian models, the metal models, particularly the Command. You know, I've seen some models like that, which are pretty cool, but I like this. This is what I like about the FireForge heads. So there are some of the boxes that I've been using the heads from, and I will be doing a short video on these as well. And because I will be using these guys, mounted sergeants, I will be using these to make a unit of Bretonnian yeomen. So that will be my next thing. Just before I go, as I said, next video, I'm going to try and assemble all the foot troops, so that will include 20 of these as well. So we'll be looking at well in excess of 150 foot, probably more actually. It'll be nearly 200. It'll be close to 200, I would imagine, by the time I've finished, particularly if we count the other incidental models that I'll be kit bashing and putting together. So nearly 200 foot troops. I've already built 6 Knights of the Realm. I've got 6 Errant Knights that are built. I'll probably go for building either 6 or 12 Squires from this stuff here, depending on how they look, certainly 6. So we're going to have well in excess of 200 models, plus the Trebuchet, and of course I've got the Baron on on the Pegasus, the big kind of figure that came in there, and I've built him so I can do a torso swap, so I'll be magnetizing that and talking about that as well. So hopefully my next video will have the whole Bretonnian army assembled and ready to paint, along with, as I said before, proxy models and anything else I might be using. I do have a damsel somewhere as well on horseback, which was a model I started painting and then gave up on. So I will dig her out as well. And yeah, that's it. Another quick video, which ended up being half an hour. But hey, if you're painting while you're listening, it doesn't matter, does it? Thanks for sticking with this. Really do appreciate all the likes and the subscriptions I've had so far. Thanks ever so much for subscribing. If you've enjoyed this video, if you like the kind of stuff that I talk about, if you want to see more, please smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Drop me a comment. It's always great to hear from you. And thanks very much. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.